In our next session, we shall delve into breakthrough advancements in cancer treatment, focusing on innovative therapies which are tailored for the Indian healthcare landscape. And Mr. Mookim is going to share his insights on emerging therapies, challenges, and the future direction to improve patient outcomes across India in this session titled Innovative Cancer Therapeutics for India. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Mr. Amit Mookim, CEO of Immuneel Therapeutics.
Thank you. Good afternoon. So I'm going to talk about three things today: revolution, hope, and disruption. When we have revolutions across the world, we've seen the Industrial Revolution. Nobody imagined that there would be spaceships that would reach planets. Then we had the Social Revolution, which has led to the society that we have today. And then we have what the earlier panel and everyone's been talking about, the Information and the Cognitive Revolution, which is really setting the stage for many things that we cannot even imagine. And that's what actually gives us hope. Because many times, revolutions are silent, but they take hundreds of years to actually create something that we in our lifetimes can't see, but generations after us benefit from it. Imagine a situation where there is a parent whose child has been detected and diagnosed with a cancer. And they're having a conversation with a doctor who says that this child only has a few weeks to live. And the child has gone through every possible treatment, whether it's chemotherapies, radiations, monoclonal antibodies, bone marrow transplants, and there's nothing left for them to look at. And that's where hope kicks in. I'd like to share the story of a 5-year-old girl called Emily Whitehead, who in 2010 was told by the doctors that she had 4 weeks to live. She had acute lymphoblastic leukemia, which is a very, very aggressive form of blood cancer. And she had gone through multiple rounds of therapies and transfusions and bone marrow transplants. At that time, the doctors were running a trial for something I'm going to talk about, and Emily was enrolled in that trial. Today, Emily is 19 years old and cancer-free. The trial, folks, was for a completely new, groundbreaking therapy of what is called CAR-T, which is the chimeric antigens response therapy. Emily's own blood was actually re-engineered genetically to create medicine for her own cancer. And that really is a function of both revolution and hope. Let me talk a little bit about what this really means, because for those who are not medically oriented, this may sound like something which is incredibly complex, but at the very simple level, what a CAR-T therapy really works on is, in your blood cancers, there is something called a B cell, which is what causes the malignancy in the blood cancers. What happens then is that the blood of the patient is taken out and then brought into a highly sterile system where the live cells are actually genetically engineered to create billions of T cells, which are the immune cells in our body. And that becomes the medication for this cancer. And then this medicine is actually taken back to the patient and infused into the patient. Now, what really happens is that this enriched blood, which is T cells that have got multiplied, go after the homing beacons of those B cells. So these T cells actually go and start attacking the B cells. And in a matter of weeks, we have seen evidence that the cancer actually disappears in many of the cases. Now, this is a groundbreaking therapy. There are 2, 3 features of what really happens and why I'm talking about this, because it's not just about CAR T therapies. It's about how the world of medicine is actually moving. We saw an entire era where medicines were manufactured in factories, and we had tablets that were taken, and they would diagnose and create cure for certain symptoms. But today, we are moving to an era of medicine where the patient's own cells are creating their own medication, and that is happening as a result of many things that have come together. One, the power of AI and data that can really deconstruct billions and billions of data fields on genetic constructs that can actually come up with what may work and what may not work. The second is that each medication is actually precision medicine, which means the medicine is for the patient, which really means that we have taken and created an entire model of exactly the therapy and the medication that patient needs. So every CAR or every gene therapy is actually precision medicine that is generated, created, and manufactured for the patient. And the third, which is really the blockbuster in all of this, is actually, in many cases, it's curative, which means that over a period of time, the genetic structure of the human being can actually be modified, edited, or silenced to cause a long-term treatment. So that's really what is happening across the world. Now, let me come to the last point around disruption, and I want to spend the maximum amount of time here and why that is needed. You see, we talk about India being the pharmacy of the world. We must have heard a lot about that 40% of generic drugs are being exported out of India. The US uses a lot of the Indian medicine. But gentlemen, I think one of the things we have to recognize is that we have to really accelerate our efforts in being the innovators of the world. And I'll tell you why. Another blood-related disorder is hemophilia. Hemophilia is a disorder where the blood does not really clot in a proper fashion. And this is a genetic disorder. A large chunk, almost 2.5 million people, are diagnosed with hemophilia in India. Close to 40% of the blood cancer population is in this side of the world. But 95% of the innovation happens in the West. And that's the fundamental issue, because while the innovation may be happening in the West, the ability for the Indian patients to access therapies is just impossible. One, because of the costs. So a thalassemia or a hemophilia drug in the West is diagnosed as a rare disease, and the cost of one therapy is $1.5 million. We are trying to bring this therapy at 5 lakhs in India with the same technology. And I'll tell you the reason why we are trying to do it. The issue is that today, if we are not able to disrupt or break through the cost barrier, we will never be able to drive innovation that India needs. The problem we have today is that a lot of the innovation is available in the West, but when we start applying it to the Indian context, we actually fall flat. One reason, and I think the panel alluded to it earlier as well, we do not have an ecosystem for such therapies in India. So I'll give you another data point. We have 1.5 lakh cancer patients every year. 40,000 blood cancer patients. When you talk about total cancers, add another 0. 40,000 of them die every year out of blood cancers. 8 to 10,000 of them can be saved if this therapy was available to them. Now, the cost of this therapy in the US is $600,000. No one in India would be able to afford this particular price, even if you say that they would be able to survive 100% with this therapy. Why is the cost so high? It's a number of reasons, and it's not just for this particular area. It will be for many other companies that you all are running as well. The cost is high because if you start backward integrating a lot of the reagents and input materials of such high-tech medicine is not available in India. 60 to 70% of the cost of this therapy is actually manufacturing cost. Most of it is actually imported. We do not have an ecosystem in India that really manufactures some of these reagent materials. The cost of science, the cost of equipment, all of these equipments are actually imported. So some of the equipments we use in our facility, which by the way is the first GMP facility in the country, everything has been imported from the West. None of it is actually available in India. And many of these systems are closed-ended systems, which means that when you import the equipment, you have to use their reagents. So you can never bring the cost down. So the West has created closed-ended models, which has made us completely dependent on themselves because we are just taking everything from there and trying to apply it here. Or we are trying to create a market and sell products or services that are not globally relevant. Now, how are we trying to solve the problem? We have brought the cost of this therapy down in India by 95%. And we are treating patients in India right now. And it's been an uphill journey. I'll tell you why it's been an uphill journey. The regulators did not understand the regulatory framework behind it. There is complete lack of trust when you're trying to bring medicine and therapy in India because it's almost like a seesaw that takes place in the regulatory framework, and many startups are not able to survive the extent of time that it takes for regulatory approvals to take place. We went through that. The second, many of these innovations need both time, money, and the right science. In my team of 85 people that are Immuneel, 43 of them are returning Indians from the US and Europe. Scientists who've come back, who want to treat and who want to develop science for India. But beyond the purpose of being here, I think what is incredibly important is that this ecosystem around them to actually leverage the science is not present. In the West, you have academic institutions that work very closely with the industry to actually bring the science together, and that's what we are trying to do. When we started working on gene therapies and cell therapies, we realized that there are dozens of academic institutions like CMC Vellore, PGI, who are doing the most cutting-edge science that is comparable with the world on gene therapies and cell therapies. The problem is that the bridge doesn't exist. So that's the second piece. The third is how do you take this product to the market? And that's where the biggest challenge has been. Because today, what we had to do when we took this gene therapy to hospitals, cell therapy to hospitals, we had to accredit the hospital. So we ran an entire accreditation process, and many hospitals actually did not stand muster. We screened patients. So because the therapy is so expensive, 1 in 4 patients are told that this therapy may not be effective for them. And that's completely contrary to the way medicine is sold. Because we know that if this therapy doesn't work, there is no point for the patient to get hope and to spend so much money. The third is really breaking through the financing or the access model. Do you know what is the average insurance reimbursement cost in India? How much does the insurer cover? 4 lakhs. And that does not cover, ladies and gentlemen, 80% of the treatments that are happening today. So the problem is we have actually a broken insurance system that is completely irrelevant to how healthcare is moving. And there is not enough data to actually go back and generate that data to get them on board. So the biggest problem we are having today, apart from bringing down the cost by 95%, and we are trying to bring that cost down by another 50%, we still know that till we don't have an access and reimbursement model in India, nothing is going to work. And this is a big problem as far as any therapy is concerned of any time and cost. But that's where I think these kind of ideas and big goals make the difference. You see, this company was conceptualized 5 years ago. 5 years ago, nobody in India would have been thinking about cell and gene therapies, right? Nobody in India would have thought about it. Today, when I look around us, there are 700 companies in Asia that are doing innovation in cancer, gene therapies, right from curing blindness, type 1 diabetes, hemophilia, thalassemia, pancreatic cancer, stomach cancer, brain tumors, right, and everything else. We are treating blood cancers right now. 680 of them are in China. There are only 20 companies like this at various stages in India. We are one of the two who are commercially offering this product. So that's the issue. I would welcome the ecosystem to get created around us because I believe that true access and costs can be disruptive when there is scale in the industry itself. It is not a battle of one or two companies. I think we set this company up with a purpose. We set it up to actually bring affordable, transformative therapies into this country. And we cannot do it alone. We will need the ecosystem around us, right from financing, regulatory, manufacturing, input materials, reimbursements, insurance, government support to actually make this happen. And let me tell you, the West is not going to come and solve this problem because if you see, a therapy for the West is actually runs into millions of dollars and they are not interested in coming and offering this to India because it disrupts their own price equation. So it is a problem for India to solve. Very, very clearly different from many of the problems that we are trying to solve. And it's not about market creation. It's about actually treating our own people. So we are committed to the cause. And I wanted to share this story with you because I think it encapsulates the true spirit of what all of us are trying to do. We are all a part of a revolution. We are all part of the AI revolution today. We are all hopeful that we'll create something that will last beyond our lifetimes. And the only way we'll do it is that if we disrupt the status quo. Thank you.
I know we have so much to catch up on.